experiencing an extreme fire weather condition with red flag alert. At the time of the fire, the relative humidity was 12 and the winds were approximately 25 miles an hour with gusts up to 50 miles per hour. Based on the red flag weather, your LAFD pre-deployed additional resources, made public awareness notifications, and issued parking restrictions in high hazard fire areas to ensure that the means of access and egress of our local fire stations and apparatus could move up and in around the area. First LAFD resources reported initially a 10-acre fire with 40-mile-per-hour winds and alignment heading towards the west or towards the ocean. The LAFD then requested all resources, including strike teams and aircraft from assisting agencies. We then went into an aggressive attack and focused our efforts on fire life safety operations, beginning with evacuations. Currently, the fire is at 1,261 acres and growing based on aerial reconnaissance. The fire is being fueled by a combination of strong winds and surrounding topography, which is making it extremely challenging for our personnel that are assigned to this incident. We currently have over 250 LAFD firefighters on scene, including 46 engines, 3 trucks, 5 helicopters, 4 brush patrols, 2 water tenders, 6 paramedic ambulances, 1 fast response vehicle, 1 advanced nurse practitioner unit, 2 bulldozers, 10 chief officers, fire investigators, and safety officers. Additionally, we're so grateful for the hundreds of law enforcement officers, partner agencies, first responders, and public work members that are engaged actively in this operation. PCH is closed from Lincoln Tunnel to Topanga Boulevard. Evacuation orders are in place for approximately 30,000 residents, including the Highlands area. North of PCH, south of Topanga Canyon Boulevard, east of Tuna Canyon Road, west of Seabreeze Drive and Surfside Drive. Our evacuation center is the Westwood Recreation Center located at 1350 South Sepulveda Boulevard in LA. The population threatened is approximately 25,748. Households threatened is approximately 10,367. Structures threatened are approximately 13,208. At this point, we feel very blessed at this point that there's no injuries that are reported. We do have reports of multiple structures that are damaged. Since the beginning of this fire, I've been in constant communication with Mayor Bass, as well as other city leadership, who's working very, very closely. As you can see, this entire entity behind me, we're working seamlessly and closely to ensure that we are protecting lives and property first. So with that, we'll go ahead and introduce the next speaker.
Thank you, Chief Crowley. The next speaker will be the Los Angeles County Fire Chief Maroney.
So good afternoon. My name is Anthony Maroney. I'm the County of Los Angeles Fire Department Chief. Shortly after the start of the Palisades Fire, LA County Fire did assist the City of Los Angeles with a first alarm brush assignment. At 11:30 hours this morning, our LA County Fire Department went into unified command with the City of Los Angeles, and at 12:30, our CAL FIRE partners from the state went into unified command with not only LA City Fire, LA County Fire, and LAPD. Currently, LA County Fire is providing aerial resources to fight this brush fire, including our Firehawk helicopters, our CH-47, part of our nighttime QRF resource that we have, in addition to our CL-415 Super Scoopers. We also have 3 engine strike teams assigned and almost 100 LA County Fire personnel. I want to let all of the viewers and listeners know that we are not out of danger. The National Weather Service has predicted that the winds are going to pick up and get worse. We're going to have the most significant wind event between 10 p.m. this evening and 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. So it's incumbent that everybody have a wildfire action plan for their home if they live in a brush-covered area, please visit the LA County Fire Department website for ready, set, go information. So that's fire.lacounty.gov/RSG. And for the most up-to-date incident information and emergency preparedness information, go to lacounty.gov/emergency. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. During emergencies, always by our side is our friends from law enforcement. So we'd like to invite LAPD Chief of Police Jim McDonald.
Thank you very much. We are here in a support role to our fire partners. Just a quick rundown. We have over 100 officers here deployed, another approximately 60 ready to be deployed once a mission is given to them. So far, the major job for our people have been evacuation, traffic control, allowing ingress and egress to emergency vehicles, and those can be helpful. I would have an ask that if you would, please do everything you can to open up the streets so we can get the resources we need to be able to deal with this emergency. Please take this wind emergency very seriously. As you heard from the speakers before me, this is something that is going to get worse throughout the night. So we all have to look out for each other. Areas of evacuation so far, about 30,000 people have been evacuated from a total of 10,000 households or 15,000 structures, to include businesses and other buildings so far, with no injury. So we're very thankful for that. But we truly ask for all assistance that we can get in making this as smooth as we possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief McDonald. I would also like to call up LA County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath, please.
Thank you. My deepest thanks to the first responders who are working tirelessly to fight this Palisades fire. Moments ago, Chair Barger signed LA County's emergency proclamation for this fire, for the severe wind event and all of the fires related to it. As the National Weather Service predicted, this is a life-threatening situation. To our Palisades and Topanga community under evacuation order, please leave. Ensure your home is unlocked, the power is off, and making sure first responders can easily access the structure. This is essential to keeping you safe and to allowing fire and first responder personnel to do their work. For our unincorporated communities in Santa Monica Mountains, including Sunset Mesa, Topanga Canyon, and Malibu, all under evacuation order and evacuation warning, please ensure you are checking emergency.lacounty.gov and heeding all door-to-door information from our LA County Sheriff and Fire Departments. Thanks to our partners at the Topanga Coalition for Emergency Preparedness, who work year-round to practice evacuation drills and emergency preparedness, and they're working tirelessly right now to ensure information is shared across Topanga. For those with livestock, the evacuation location is Pierce College. For those needing small animal evacuation location, the Agora Animal Shelter is available to you. Thank you to Governor Newsom for your quick support and coordination. Thanks to Mayor Bass, to Councilmember Park, and all of the council members in the city, and all of our partners, city, county, and state, unified and working together to keep people safe and address this fire. The county and city of Los Angeles have a lot of experience in unified command. This emergency is no different. We're dedicating every resource we can to urgently contain this fire. I want to extend my gratitude to the Los Angeles County Fire Department, the Sheriff's Department, the Office of Emergency Management, and all of our county partners. I know LAUSD officials also wanted to be with us, but given the conditions, that was challenging. A few school updates. Topanga Elementary at Woodland Hills Academy will be relocated all week. Palisades and Marquez Elementaries will be relocated at Brentwood Science Magnet for tomorrow. Paul Revere Middle School will be relocated at University High tomorrow. Pali High School is not in session this entire week, and Canyon Elementary will be relocated at a location to be determined. To those affected by the Palisades Fire, I know today is terrifying and it is painful. Please know that you are not alone. The County of Los Angeles and all of our partners are here together to stand with you and be in support of you. Thank you again to everyone who is contributing resources to this incident. Your partnership is appreciated and it is essential to keeping people safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor. Next, we'd like to bring up Los Angeles City Council President Marquis Harris Dawson.
Thank you so much. I just want everybody to know that since this morning, about 7 a.m., I've been in direct communication with Mayor Bass, who's on her way home from a diplomatic mission on behalf of the United States government. She will be here within hours. Also, we want everybody to know that the city is well prepared and has a tremendous emergency management infrastructure who has been on the case since 6 this morning at the beginning of this wind event. I'm proud to say that we have some of the best men and women anywhere in our fire department, our police department, as well as their partners across the state and across the county. I am also want everybody to know that as acting mayor and president of the LA City Council, along with the county, and we'll hear from the governor later, the city of LA is declaring a state of emergency through this wind event, and we'll have all resources on deck. And our ask, our personal ask, and we'll hear from the council member from this district, but if you can stay off of our roads, please do so to allow emergency vehicles to go across the city. And also remember, we'll continue to drive this home. The worst and most severe part of this wind event is yet to come. So if you're around the city and you have been spared, be thankful, but also be on guard. Bring your lawn furniture in. And again, help us by staying off the roads. And I will ask the council member from this district who's been on the street since early this morning, making sure the neighborhoods have the information that they need and resources that they need to come to the podium, our own Councilwoman Tracy Park.
Thank you, everyone, for being here, and Council President Harris Dawson. I want to begin by thanking all of our public safety partners. LA City Fire has over 250 firefighters on the front lines in the hillsides right now, actively fighting this fire, supported by more than 100 firefighters from LA County Fire, as well as additional resources from Orange County, Ventura County, CAL FIRE, and neighboring cities, including Arcadia and Santa Monica. I also want to thank our partners in law enforcement for their terrific coordinated response with us today. LAPD, LA County Sheriff's Department, CHP is here, as well as our park rangers. Obviously, the scope and scale of today's fire here in the Palisades has been terrifying. We are so incredibly grateful for the swift response. And to my constituents here in the Pacific Palisades, I want to reiterate, this is not a drill. This is an actual public safety emergency. Areas west of Mandeville Canyon and north of Sunset have been ordered for evacuation. So please make sure that you are packed and ready to go, and complying with all directives being given to you by law enforcement and our partners at the fire service as well. LA City is activating emergency shelter at Westwood Recreation Center. People in the Palisades who have been displaced by today's events are invited to go there. We are working with animal services to receive and care for pets that are being displaced as well. And as additional resources come online, we'll be providing those updates for you. Local residents should follow along for additional information and updates through official city channels, as well as LAPD, LAFD, and LA County updates, as this is a dynamic situation. This is a fast-moving and growing fire, at over 1,200 acres at this point. And with the predicted wind patterns and continued weather events, we expect the situation to continue through the evening. It may take our partners at Fire a couple of days to get the situation under control. It may be some time until people are allowed to return to their homes and residences. Please bear with us through this period as our public safety partners work hard to protect lives and property and ensure that this area is safe before people return. In the meantime, if anyone needs additional assistance, I would welcome them to reach out to me and my team. All of our contact information is at cd11.lacity.gov. Thank you to my friends and constituents, and thank you to all of our partners, including Governor Newsom, for being here with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. We'd like to now ask Council Member John Lee to please speak.
First of all, I just want to thank all the firefighters who are on and first responders that are fighting this fire right now. Also, a big thank you to all the organizations throughout the city, county, and state that are assisting our firefighters in what they need to do today. As chair of the Public Safety Committee, it's my job to monitor situations all throughout the city of Los Angeles. And the most important information that I can share with you today is to all of our residents. As soon as we get any new information, we are trying to disseminate that as quickly as possible. It's important that you listen to that information. As someone who represents a district that is commonly affected by fires, one of the issues that we ask our residents to do is, if you're asked to evacuate, if you're asked to stay outdoors, whatever it is that we're asking you, if you're in one of those affected areas, that you don't create additional problems for our firefighters, so our firefighters can focus on what they're supposed to do, and that's getting this fire out. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Council Member. And now we'd like to ask the Governor, Gavin Newsom, to please speak.
Thank everybody. Hell of a way to start a new year. Again, let me add my voice, the voice of so many others, and extending deep appreciation to the men and women in uniform across jurisdictions. I want to thank, in particular, Chief Crowley and Chief Maroney for your outstanding leadership, Police Chief, Sheriff's Office, all of our local law enforcement agencies that work hand in glove. There is simply no better mutual aid system anywhere in the United States of America. And you're seeing it now at scale once again here in Southern California. I say once again because we were here not too long ago, the Franklin Fire, a few weeks prior to that, the Mountain Fire, November, December, now January. There's no fire season, it's fire year, it's year round. And it's incredibly important that we heed the warnings, the calls, that we're not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination. You may feel at home that you're fine down in Riverside County, San Bernardino County, down in Ventura County, other parts of the state, but there's a reason we pre-positioned hundreds of assets and personnel on Sunday in anticipation of this wind event. 110 engines specifically were sent down, 45 by CAL FIRE, 65 through our mutual aid system, through the Office of Emergency Services, water tenders down here, 7 new helicopters we brought from Northern California down to Southern California. We just brought our C-130 down from Northern California and already just had its first drop. By no stretch of the imagination are we out of the woods. You heard a chief say 10 p.m. tonight to 5 a.m. tomorrow will be peak winds. And having just quite literally an hour or so ago gone up the canyon and saw firsthand the impact of these swirling winds and the embers and the number of structures that are destroyed. Not a few, many structures already destroyed, and the fact that people were still not evacuated, still did not heed the warning. We're just coming down the canyon is a reminder of how serious this moment is and how important it is you listen to these evacuation orders. We've all been to memorials. I've never been to a memorial for a building, but for family members and loved ones. I know you cannot say this enough. It's foundational. One other thing I want to say, because you can't say it enough, is expression of gratitude. The President of the United States happens to be in town. It didn't take more than a text message to get the FMAG approved, which means we're getting reimbursed for the vast majority of these costs. No politics, no hand-wringing, kissing of the feet. The President of the United States said, yes, what else do you need? Emergency proclamations being drafted as we speak. And I just want to thank the President because that's something I don't take for granted. It's something we should not take for granted at this moment in American history. So thank you, President Biden, as well. Final point. We encourage you. You heard all those websites. I don't want to burden you with any more except one. Fire.ca.gov. And why do I say that? Nothing like it in the countries, nothing like that we've seen in any jurisdiction around the world. 3D maps and live cams on fire.ca.gov. It also will show you the evacuation orders. I encourage people to take a look at that site for information. And of course, ready.ca.org to make sure that you're prepared as we work through yet another extraordinary month in this fire year, perpetual fire year here in the state of California. Thank you again to all of the folks behind me and the outstanding leadership of all the elected officials as well. And forgive me, one point, I'd be remiss. Thank you to Mayor Bass, who was on the phone immediately this morning, making sure even in absentia that she's here organizing everything she can to make sure we're successful as well.
Thank you, Governor. Appreciate that. We'd like to open this up now for Spanish, and then we'll go to questions. So we'd like to have Public Information Officer for LAFD, David Ortiz.
So as they do the Spanish translation, I just want to recap some of the news that just came from there. Governor Newsom saying that he's been in contact with President Biden, who happens to be in Southern California today, and that emergency funding from the federal government is coming. He said he didn't want to bring politics into it, although he did get a little bit of a dig at Donald Trump, who has potentially threatened withholding emergency funding in the future if Newsom doesn't do what he wants. That's why he was suggesting that Joe Biden did not give any questions asked there. And the basics here, the good news, Marla, is that so far no injuries, but interesting how Governor Newsom mentioned the fact that he saw multiple structures burn. We don't have any actual number yet, but he made it seem like it wasn't just a few that are burning. And we are getting some indication from our reporter, Christy Fajardo, on the ground that Palisades High School may be burning. We're trying to get more details on that and hopefully get to her soon. But that is a dangerous situation.
30,000 residents under evacuation, 25,000 plus households currently remain threatened. Best news is no injuries to speak of. Again, it's early in the investigation and in this firefight, so that could very well change. You mentioned that Pacific Palisades High School is currently on fire. The Getty Villa was also threatened earlier, but I'm seeing images and being told that the flames did make its way around the Getty Villa. So that at this point has been preserved. On the ground, we also have Chelsea Edwards joining our coverage now. If Chelsea's available, there you are. You're in the Highlands area. They talked about this area being vulnerable and obviously under evacuation zone.
Now, we do have some good news to report in that vein. So this was the area where a lot of people were told to go back and then shelter in place. This area is under an evacuation order. But earlier today, the fire, they say, jumped Palisades Drive. And this is the only way in and out. Firefighters just thought it was too dangerous to be getting people down this canyon. So they pushed everyone who was on the north side of it up and everyone on the south side of it down and told everyone on the north side to shelter in place. But you can see these cars coming down now. So this is good news. They just allowed these residents out of their homes. I understand we've got another press conference that we're going to. Is that right?
Yeah. So Chelsea, thank you. We're going to go back to the press conference. They're now answering questions. Let's listen to Chief Kristen Crowley.
We did push out information for people to evacuate. Now, the lean forward posture, and I want to talk about that first and foremost, was communicating the potential threat of what was coming. That information was out. It was out early in regard to everybody be ready, set, and go. When that go order came out, At that point, that is that very important point where the public can and should heed that warning and start to evacuate. Now we know there's limited access and egress in certain areas within the hills right behind me. So with that, that's what we believe did happen. People did evacuate. It was slow to evacuate. What I have been briefed on is that the evacuations were slow, but they did occur, and we will follow up on that if there's anything better in the future that we can communicate to the constituents and continue to train to that, because the evacuation order, we can never do it early enough. So with that, we want to continue to work with the community, ensure that when that evacuation order happens, that they can evacuate in a timely manner. But we understand what you're saying.
And just one other question, this is for the governor.
Sure.
You mentioned the current administration. I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but what's your message to the incoming administration about what we just saw here today? Given that that's going to be part of, we know that there's city collaboration, state and federal collaboration.
Well, we're all in this together. None of us are asking for respective political identities around here. Everybody's rowing in the same direction because everyone gives a damn. They're here for each other, and that's the spirit that defines the best of this state and this country. No one here is playing politics. We have an American president in Joe Biden that recognizes his responsibility in times of emergency. When Americans are in need, he steps up, he steps in, not qualified by a particular request or an expectation. Again, I say what I said because I at the moment, I don't take that for granted, candidly, like I have been the last few years. It's rather precious. And my message to the incoming administration, and I'm not here to play any politics, is please don't play any politics. There's a time and place for that. And at this moment where your question only reinforces the moments, the precious moments that we have to evacuate, we don't have time for any of that mishigash.
Go ahead.
With the worst winds yet to come, what's the plan in place? Obviously, I know you're probably trying to get as many, boots on the ground as possible, but also in the air, coming from people who they literally just left, as you're saying. They were wondering as well why, I know you guys are probably doing everything you can to get as many aircraft, but to drop more water, that's their concern.
So your question's in reference to the increased severity of wind and resources?
And then the aircraft.
Okay.
Yeah, was your question regarding nighttime aircraft operations?
Yeah, just obviously the worst is yet to come at about 10 p.m. and overnight.
Right. So the plan is they're developing a plan for nighttime air operations. It's going to be a combination of LA City fire units, LA County fire units, state fire units, and that quick reaction force of the CH-47s that drop retardant at night. We are going to take advantage of the lower temperatures at night, but with increased wind speed, aerial firefighting becomes more dangerous. There is a cutoff mile per hour wind at which we will not operate at night. Flying during the night is more dangerous than flying during the day. We want to make sure that we don't get anybody killed, but we do want to fly both. As the water exits the bottom of the drop tank, it just gets carried away by the wind and never reaches the ground. So there really is no point to putting people at risk if that firefight isn't making a difference.
Thank you.
Was your answer question?
Yeah, I mean, this is only one fire. We've got, 2 more days of this too. I mean, I don't know how many resources, how more people you're able to,
Well, that's
get
the
up
beauty
here.
of automatic and mutual aid. So there's automatic aid agreements between all of these agencies here. They brought their additional boots on the ground. And as the governor mentioned, we have state mutual aid. So CAL FIRE's come in. We'll get the appropriate quantity and type of resources to mitigate this emergency. And it's an opportunity of neighbor helping neighbor. And we will do the same thing in Northern California when they need it. Yes, ma'am.
We went and abandoned birds. There were some people like officers that they were not?
Sure. So questions about abandoned cars. That's a good question that has come up. Law enforcement assists us heavily with evacuation, but please remember it's an active incident. We don't have the answers to all of these questions. We will certainly look at that. That's very important. I don't know if police felt like they wanted to make a mention to evacuations. Sure. Okay.
Yeah, just on that question of evacuations, vehicles left in the roadway. If you have to leave a vehicle in the roadway, get it as far off the road as you can so that emergency vehicles can get by. The gist of moving them with bulldozers was an emergency situation. You got to get those fire resources through, and they do what they have to do to be able to facilitate that. So we're asking really for the cooperation, and think a couple of steps ahead. It's not just your vehicle there, but then others line up behind you as well as they see what you're doing. And so I can't stress enough, please follow the evacuation orders. Do your best to be able to get out to safety. Bring the equipment you will need for the next couple of days with you, because as you've heard over and over again, this is not going to end very quickly. Thank you.
If I could just expand a little bit. On Saturday, state started to convene respective leadership across the state of California at the Office of Emergency Services. We started to pre-position early evening on Sunday in 6 or 7 counties here in Southern California, quite literally moved assets from Northern California into Southern California. Just as an example, moments ago, we had a chance to meet a crew from Santa Cruz and from Santa Clara County that just were deployed up the mountain. Those resources remain pre-positioned currently in other counties in anticipation of the concerns you just expressed in the wind events. We are anticipating, hopefully we're wrong, but we're anticipating other fires happening concurrently. And that's exactly the previous experience we've had with these kinds of wind events. And that's why we continue to provide and supplement those resources from all across Northern California in particular. One final thing, because I think it's important. My phone lights up all the time, including this morning, about people saying, well, where are all the planes? You said you put all these assets. I want to see them. It was important what the chief just said. We could be up there all day making people feel good, but we're not doing any good because that retardant flies all over the place. And so it's not that the planes themselves can't handle the turbulence and the wind shears. It's that simply you're not suppressing anything. And so it is a point, I know, of frustration, but then it also reinforces the preciousness of the hand crews and the men and women that are on the ground holding the line that are up there as we speak. And that's also part of the specialty units that are part of these larger operations. We have an incident command team that quite literally is organized here in real time, and we're gaming out the next few days with the benefit of something we haven't had in the past, new technology, technical and other AI-enabled technology that allows us predictive capacity in a way we've never had in the past, which is also aiding our efforts to not just prevent in some cases as it relates to early detection, but also prepare to suppress in subsequent incidences.
Yes, sir.
With winds expected to pick up, do we have any projections for where the fire might move next or any areas that might be at risk?
It's been moving in a southwest direction towards Getty, which is moving towards the Los Angeles County Fire Department's jurisdiction. It did begin in the city, and that's the Unified Command. Good.
And real quick, I know you said that there's no reported injuries. Are there any unaccounted individuals? And if so, do you have a count on that?
Not that we're aware of at this point. So that is part of the process. They are having evacuation groups that are looking at that, but we're not aware of any individuals unaccounted for. We did receive multiple 911 calls for a particular address. We did send resources in to rescue people.
What are you telling folks in the west area, Santa Monica, further south? Should they stay put? Should they keep their phones on overnight? I mean, what should people do who are kind of on the edge here between the fire zone and
Okay, so what are we telling the people south of the fire? Yeah. You want me to take that or somebody else? Okay.
Thank you for asking that question. Our question was, what are we communicating to individuals that are south of the incident? I think it's really, really important for the entire public to understand, as you can see, how dynamic these winds are and how quickly they can change on a dime. So you may think, okay, I'm safe, but the key is the communication. Listen for those evacuation orders and warnings, and also be super hyper diligent in regard to what could happen. If an individual within the community wants to lean forward and just say, I'm not going to risk anything, I'm just going to go to a different area where it may be safer. Just know from the south, and with the winds as unpredictable as they are, there's very, very much at risk. So we want people to be very cognizant of that, make good decisions, make sure they can understand real-time information, and we will communicate that and articulate that very clearly. But this is very, very, very dynamic. And you can just, by standing here, seeing us with the wind gusts and with the predictability of this wind's going to get worse tonight. So we want people to lean forward, ready, set, go, and be ready. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and conclude the press conference at this point. We'll let you know if we have another press conference tonight. That's not necessarily likely. There will be PIOs available here for additional questions. Tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., we do anticipate to have another joint press conference. Thank you all for sharing this important information.
All right, we've just wrapped the latest from county and city and state officials. Again, the count is just over 1,200 acres, close to 1,300 acres. Multiple structures burned, but they don't have a count as to how many exactly. Best news is at this point, no injuries to speak of. Let's go on the ground, though, to Christy Fajardo. She is out there, and it is gusting where you are. Where are you, Christy?
I'm actually on Sunset at Villa de la Paz, and we just witnessed how quickly things can change, because when that press conference started, we were actually at Sunset and Temescal Canyon, and suddenly it got very dark. It looked almost like nighttime. The winds were gusting, and there was ash and smoke just being kicked up, and suddenly that fire just exploded. Unfortunately, we know that there have been a couple of more structures that have been added to the damaged, at least, toll since that press conference started, because we saw houses on the hill and suddenly some of that was on fire. And there was one man who raced down. He was in a convertible, and he told us that his house was one of them. He said it was on fire as he was leaving. And I want to show you what it looks like now. You can see how smoky it is. Visibility is very, very poor here, and we're not that far from Temescal and Sunset. Unfortunately, as we were leaving, we could see that Pali High, that there was things that were burning there. I do not know if they were structures, but something on the property was definitely on fire. Hopefully it was shrubs. We were facing the field, so it might have been something in the field that was on fire. And sadly, there were also palm trees on the south side of Temescal near Sunset. They were also on fire, and apartment buildings there were threatened, and people, the ones who had not evacuated, were streaming out. And now, as you can see, you can even hear them. Fire alarms are going off all around us. The LAPD just came through here and ordered the gas station that is on the corner here, the 76, to close. And we're seeing little spot fires. In fact, if we pan this way, you might be able to see that there was one started in the parking lot of this Gelson's, because every now and then we get these big gusts and it starts raining embers. And unfortunately, we've also been seeing the power lines arcing on Villa de la Paz, so a very dangerous situation. And those who had not opted to leave are now leaving. And can we pan over there and show those shopping carts? That's how gusty it is. They're just moving around in this parking structure. And that is essentially what firefighters are dealing with at this hour. And you can see the gust just hit whatever was burning over there. Now we're starting to see flames. And that is how quickly the situation can change. Let's send it back to you.
Yeah, we talk about the fact that embers in these situations can potentially go 2 miles. And so you think of all of those spots that we're seeing in that image right there. There's a little fire there, a little fire there, in all these different directions. So not only could the fire start there, but those could then become embers that move in other directions that could start another fire. So what's so challenging for the firefighters, as you see from these images, is that you can't be everywhere, Marla. There's just too many fires. And it becomes a question of where do you go? What's the priority? And in some places, that means you have to let homes burn, which is a horrible situation for any of the homeowners who are impacted by that. But that's the tough calculation that these fire crews are having to do.
Let's go to Chelsea Edwards. She's at Sunset and Palisades. And you are, it looks like, where all of those cars were bulldozed earlier.
Yeah. I mean, the only word that comes to mind, honestly, Marla and Alex, is apocalyptic. I mean, you just look at this and can imagine the panic these people must have felt when this was going on. So they're trying to get out. This is in both directions, as you can see. And then a bulldozer, which was just up to the left up there, up on Palisades Drive, just had to come through and literally bulldoze these cars out of the way so that people, and so that emergency responders especially, could get through to either side. And that's because the fire is really on all sides of where we're standing right now here in the Highlands. So again, we're on Sunset Boulevard, right near Palisades Drive. This is where a lot of people up in the Highlands were told to evacuate, but then the fire jumped Palisades Drive, which is really the only way in and out of that particular neighborhood. And that's when authorities made the difficult decision to say, you know what, if you're north of this, you got to go back and shelter in place. We'll try to come when we can. Thankfully, they have been able to do that. Those residents who are up there have now been able to come down the hill, which is very good news. But look at some of this aftermath. Elliot, if we can turn to our left here, look at this canyon. So when we first got here, this was on fire. I mean, you could barely see. Visibility was very, very low. A lot of debris in the air, still is in the air. And you can see how the wind is just pushing the smoke. So echoing what Christy was saying, the wind is just so unpredictable. I mean, there's times where it's kind of laying down and it seems almost like it's not moving. And then out of nowhere, my colleague Elliot Mendoza and I are almost, we're about to get knocked over because it's just so powerful in one direction. And then 2 minutes later, it's blowing in the other direction. So right now, obviously going pretty strongly this way. But look at this charred hillside. There's just no vegetation left on this. And unfortunately, from our camera and from our angle from the last for probably an hour now, we have seen a lot of plumes of black smoke, very large plumes of black smoke. A big one is up there, which is sort of in the Highlands neighborhood. It's hard to tell exactly where that is, but it appears that there. Oh, sorry, Elliot. Sorry, just stepped on some debris from a car here. This is actually a side mirror, it looks like, that was bulldozed off. But when we look up there and we see those black plumes, unfortunately, that's an indication that homes are burning up there, especially when they're that size, the plumes that we've been seeing. You can see the smoke is thickening as well. And we've been seeing a lot of this where the conditions just rapidly change. For a minute there, we were up this way on Sunset Boulevard to the east. Our live truck was kind of parked and facing uphill, but all of a sudden flames started coming from this Lake Shrine area, which is just south of this hedge where we're standing here. And they got so close to the truck, we had to just jump in and get out of there. There were actually some people who were not firefighters. I'm not sure who these people were, but they were picking up the firefighters' hoses and trying to save some of these cars because the flames were just coming right up against these cars and right up against our live van. I actively saw them save at least one car up that way a little bit from just going up into flames. And of course, the danger is that any of these cars go up into flames. These are all scrunched together. No one has keys. There's no one here to operate these cars. If one goes up, there's a high likelihood that they could all go up together. But just look at this scene. I mean, look at the force that would have hit this. You got the side mirror knocked off. You've got this whole front bumper, this whole front area dented. Over here, same thing. I mean, they just had to plow their way through in order to get these emergency responders to different areas. Now, again, the fire is on all sides of us. So if we look up this hillside, you can see some charring up there. Those were active flames when we first got here. We saw a lot of large embers that were just flying around. I mean, it's, again, just one of those things where it's unpredictable. You don't know where they're going to land, where they could spark, where they're going to end up. So, you're dealing with that. And then you look again to the distance, Elliot, if you can go up a little bit and see those flames up. I don't know if that's a home or if those are what those are up there, but something's burning up there. And you just think, I mean, it's just unpredictable out here. It's just a wild scene. But the good news is all those people that were up in the Highlands area who were told to turn around, which must have been just terrifying for those people up there to have to turn around and go back to your homes when there are active flames encroaching in. All of those residents, at least according to the people that I've spoken to on the ground, have now been allowed out of their homes. They got police escorts and fire personnel escorts down the hill. They were very eagerly taking a right. I tried to talk to a couple of them as they were coming down, and the looks on their faces were very telling. They wanted nothing to do with anything that did not involve getting out of there. It's been a harrowing day for everybody living up there, and it looks, at least from where we're standing, we haven't confirmed this, but it looks like homes were lost somewhere in that vicinity. Again, these huge black plumes of smoke that have been coming up just time and time again. We're hearing explosion after explosion. Don't know if those are transformers or what, but there's also action down here. We've got some palm fronds that were that had started to go up. We saw some police officers grabbing fire hoses and dousing kind of upwards, trying to get those palm trees so that they wouldn't go up and then cause embers to fly, which would, of course, endanger everybody in this area as well. So, I mean, just looking at this as you walk around, it feels like we're either on a movie set or I mean, we're not. This is real life, and this is the reality of how dangerous these fires are and how quickly these emergency responders have to make decisions when it is just such an emergency like this. I mean, there was obviously, when you look at the aftermath, there was just no time. I mean, they just had to make that call and say, all right, we got to move these cars. And they did it. And this is the aftermath. So, I also have to think about the people who are in these cars. Imagine the terror to make that decision. I know we've been talking about that on our air all day, but, at what point in your mind do you think, okay, we've got to go, let's leave everything in the car. Let's leave our valuables. Let's leave the car, which is valuable, of course. A lot of these are very nice cars. And just run. Elliot, look over here. We've got some active flames. So this has been flaring up quite a bit. Not sure exactly where this is. This is looking west on Sunset, but you see those big flames over there. There's a lot of vegetation back there, and we've seen a lot of these flare-ups, but we've also seen right in that pocket, so somewhere west of Palisades Drive, also, again, those big plumes of black smoke, which indicates that something else is burning up there. So obviously some vegetation, not sure if that's a home or not, but I mean, really everywhere you look, you can see pockets of active flame, and you can certainly feel it in the air, see it in the air. The visibility is very low, and the smoke is just so incredibly thick. So, I mean, it's just a wild scene out here. But again, that good news, it does appear that they were able to get everyone who was sheltering in place up in the Highlands, were able to get them out to safety. So obviously this is an active and developing situation. We'll be here on the ground bringing you the latest as we get it. Just wild.
Chelsea, what's it like driving around right now?
Driving, well, when we were coming in, it is just absolute gridlock. I mean, you can't move in any direction. And I was just looking at the people's, here's a gentleman. We're going to go see if we can talk to this person carrying what appears to be all of her belongings. Oh my goodness. She's got a suitcase and a bag. Excuse me, ma'am. Are you all right? Are you okay?
I'm good, yes.
What made you up here?
9-year-old's dog.
What's going on with
He's Sir Fluffs a lot.
Hi, Sir Fluffs a lot.
My son's got evacuated, St. Matthews.
Oh, he's got to be so scared.
So I went to drop my son off at school at a friend's house after school, and then deserted my car somewhere up here.
So one of these cars is your car?
No, I'm like on Bienvenida and Sunset. I ran down here, and I probably made it about 1.5 miles on foot up the mountain. A little bit of an apocalypse situation, but then a fire truck saw me and gave me a ride the rest of the way. So then I got my dog and grabbed some stuff and made my way down. So
you physically ran back to your home to rescue your dog?
Yeah, I had to get my son's dog. He already lost a dog last year when our house got broken into in Brentwood. Oh. And I wasn't going to put him through that again. So I got my ski goggles, which, by the way, came in very handy because my eyes were burning on the way up the mountain. But thanks to some good Samaritans giving me a ride halfway up and back down, I'm going to go see if my car is still where I left it and go find my son.
Oh, my God. Good luck to you. And I just... What, is your home still standing as far as you're aware?
Townhouse is still standing. I do own a little children's store called the Grey Dragon in Marquez.
Okay.
And I know there was lots of fires right there behind like Marquez Elementary and stuff. So I don't know. So we'll see.
Are you going to try to drive out once you get to your car?
If I can get to my car, if I can get out, great. If not, then I'll figure it out. So
Please stay safe and good luck to you. What's your name?
Adele.
Adele? Adele what?
Yes. Hayden Rich.
Thank you so much, Adele. Good luck. I'm a little worried about Adele walking up here on her own.
She seems,
because this is really emergency responders only, but goodness, her attitude is incredible.
Yeah, she's very just, I'm going to do this. It's what I have to do. I had to rescue Sir Fluffs a lot for my son. I mean, she is just a trooper. She is determined.
Yeah.
I hope her car's still there.
That was incredible. I hope it is too. We'll try to catch up with her in just a bit.
Yeah. All right, Chelsea, goodness. We'll let you get back to that reporting. Thank you for that. And thank you to photographer Elliot Mendoza for some great work out there. As we approach the 4:30 half hour, Alex Michelson, Marla Tea is here with special coverage. We are preempting TMZ Live today for this Palisades Fire, which has burned more than 1,200 acres on the west side of Los Angeles and continues to burn out of control. Fox 11's Matthew Seedorf has seen some of the worst destruction. He joins us live right now. Matthew, talk to us about where you are and what you're seeing.
Yeah, Alex, really, this is just horrible to see. We're up Lockman Lane up in Pacific Palisades. This is just one of 12 homes we've seen today get destroyed by these massive flames. And you can see firefighters are here trying to do their best to really put it out. This home is, at this point, you'd imagine is a total loss, but trying to keep the hot spots from flaring up and popping up more downhill. Massive amount of smoke. We're seeing fires like this kind of scattered all over what is relatively a very residential area. I do want to show you, if you can swing it this way, the firefighters actually pulled a grandfather clock out of this house, managed to save that. But if you look at the house itself, I mean, it is a total.
All right, we'll have
next to it down here.
Signal problems with Matthew Seedorf and his crew there. Do we have him back? Let's go.
All right, we're out.
Go ahead, Matthew. Let's try it one more time. Maybe not as much movement, if possible.
Yeah, the cell reception in the area is not great, as we are also dealing with that, as well as these strong winds. The wind's really pushing the flames and making it worse and spread very quickly. But firefighters doing their best to just extinguish the flames at this house, keep it from shooting more embers up in the air and starting other homes nearby.
And real quickly, Matthew, because it sort of cut out when you were saying this, did you say that you have seen yourself 12 homes burn?
That's correct. I'd say at least 12, and kind of in different areas of Pacific Palisades, kind of spotty, but yeah, definitely at least.
Yeah. You even picked up the hose earlier to try and put out some flames when there were no fire crews around. Okay, stay safe. We'll check in with you in just a bit. Matthew Seedorf reporting for us. Let's go to Christy Fajardo. She has another vantage point of Pacific Palisades. Christy?
Yeah, we're actually on Sunset at Villa de la Paz, and I told you in the last live shot that we were hearing fire alarms going off, and we now know that some of that smoke that you see right over there is coming from an apartment building that is on fire on Temescal Canyon Road, and we actually saw the flames jump Temescal Canyon Road, and we also saw fire on Pali High property. And Erin Lynch, we actually met her earlier, a couple hours ago, when things looked much different, but you drove through there. What did you see at Pali High?
Yeah, there's fire in the stadium. The stands are burning. There's vegetation on the high school property. Even the road had some fire going across it. The pavement, the blacktop, and then that huge building across the way was completely engulfed.
And when we met you earlier, you had left your neighborhood. Things were looking a lot better. Then the wind came in, and we witnessed that firsthand. Suddenly the sky got really dark, started seeing embers flying everywhere. And that's what you were driving out of. You had gone to your house to get your motorcycle. What did you see in your neighborhood?
Right on my street, a couple houses were starting to burn. There was the vegetation right by the houses, and right up the block on both ends, there are houses that are completely gone. A number of houses that I saw burning, and then other houses up there that I know must be. But yeah, it's pretty ugly. It's pretty ugly.
I'm so sorry that you and your neighbors are going through that. But you were saying you've actually experienced this before.
Yes, I believe the last time that we had a big fire on these hills here was 1979. when I saw the flames coming over in the afternoon, and it was the beginning. And that was the last time we were evacuated, 1979. Yeah.
I know you're finally leaving. You're not going to go back, and I am so glad you're safe. You're going to Brentwood, you were saying, and
go hang out with a friend. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
What?
Thank you so much. I know this has been a very, very harrowing day, for you.
Sad for a lot of my neighbors. There's a lot of people that are not going to have a very good January 2025 now.
And you lived there a long time. I imagine it's a close-knit community.
Yeah, people know people nearby, and they're, down the street and around the corner, and yeah, so it's going to be tough.
And as far as you could tell, everybody had evacuated?
Yes, there are a few people in their cars and hanging around, but mostly nobody's hanging around in their house. Few people hosing things off and stuff.
And what street do you live on?
Alcima. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Stay safe.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you guys, I appreciate it. So you can see the winds.
Yes.
And this is what firefighters are dealing with, because we've been talking about those embers, and we saw that. We witnessed that firsthand. That was just one big gust. And a lot of neighbors were really concerned about an elderly man who lived up on the hill, because they told us they tried to get him to evacuate. And he was out there. We could see him on the hillside with his hose, and he was watering down his property. But suddenly, we couldn't see him or even his house anymore because there was so much smoke and flame. So hopefully he got out, or hopefully his home is safe. But a lot of harrowing stories we're hearing out here. Let's send it back to you.
Christy Fajardo, thank you for that. We're rooting for her. In the meantime, we want to bring in our meteorologist, Adam Kruger. You were warning about this last night, really for several days, and the worst is still to come, right, Adam?
Yeah, I would say so. The strongest winds are expected tonight through tomorrow morning. And obviously, it's already been very windy. Also, the driest air is yet to come. It's going to get a little drier tomorrow than what we see right now. So this part of the forecast I'm going to share with you will be the forecast wind gusts, and then we'll look at forecast relative humidity. And by the way, when we show you these numbers, when we're talking about gusts, there's a difference there between sustained winds and gusts. Gusts would be how strong the winds could be at any specific moment, just a burst of wind that might get this strong, whereas a sustained wind would be the average over a couple of minutes. So sustained winds are going to be a little bit less intense than the numbers you see right here. But let's walk you through what we expect this evening. And I've got Pacific Palisades highlighted right there. As expected, again, as we go later into tonight, we are going to start to find the winds picking up. So here's a look at what our model is showing at about 7 o'clock. And this is a new model. If you were watching about an hour or so ago, this is a fresh model run. So the latest available data. Now watch these numbers here as we go into 9 o'clock tonight. This model is suggesting there may be winds now ramping up with gusts that could exceed 60 miles per hour. And it's not just the Pacific Palisades. I mean, you see the map here. There are high numbers scattered all around Southern California. So we continue to monitor all areas. Like we heard during the press conference, resources are in place because it's possible that something might spark somewhere else. And even in the Pacific Palisades area, we see that it's just almost impossible to keep up with flare-ups that are happening all over the place. Just an ember flies and starts a fire there, ember flies somewhere else, and these can travel quite far, a mile or two ahead of the fire sometimes. All right, so this is 9 o'clock tonight. Now, as we go through the night, here's 2 o'clock in the morning. Look at these numbers. Again, we still see gusts in many spots that could be over 60 miles per hour. So this is that example that late tonight through tomorrow morning is going to be the most intense winds. Here we are 4 o'clock in the morning, 60 to 70 mile per hour gusts are still on the map. Here we go into 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And, it's just... It gives you chills kind of to see these numbers continuing at that same level. We get into midday tomorrow and tomorrow afternoon, then we're over the hump. It's not like we're totally in the clear, but we're over the hump as far as the strongest winds go. There's still going to be some areas where it's going to be windy. The air will still be very dry, and there's still a wildfire danger with red flag warnings continuing into Thursday in some areas. But the high wind warnings, that ends at 6 p.m. tomorrow. All right, now as far as the humidity, we've seen relative humidity below 20% in several areas today. That's what we're seeing right now. We know when the fire started in the Pacific Palisades earlier this morning in the press conference, they mentioned the relative humidity was around, I think, 15% or so is what they mentioned. Now, let's run this into tomorrow. Here's the forecast, relative humidity. I'll pause it midday tomorrow, and notice how the numbers are overall even lower. Some spots could be below 10%. Extremely dry air, very strong winds. It's a very difficult combination. And as far as those winds, I'll highlight this if you missed it in the press conference earlier, but the officials are saying that, people are wondering, where's the air support? Why aren't we seeing a lot during the nighttime? It's actually The winds, if they're strong enough, it's not that it's unsafe for the aircraft to fly around, but whatever they're going to do to take care of the fire, whatever they're dropping, if, winds are gusting over 40 or so, it's almost like, what's the use? It just gets scattered away from the wind and that doesn't really land on its target. So that's another, element that makes this all just a little bit more complicated here as we just need to wait for the weather really to settle down. We're going to start seeing that late day Wednesday, Thursday, still red flag conditions though. And even Friday is not ideal, but we'll be past the worst of this by the end of the day tomorrow and into tomorrow night. Guys.
All right, Adam, thanks so much. Let's give you the latest information as we look at the plume of smoke from this camera here. Let's throw up all that information if we could. So at this point, 1,262 acres have burned. Multiple structures have also burned. We don't have an exact count. There we go. 0% contained, of course. Mandatory evacuation orders are in place. 30,000 residents have evacuated. More than 25,000 people remain, or rather households remain threatened. In the 10K homes, it's 10,000 people within those 25,000 plus households. It's a lot of numbers, but bottom line, this is if you're in the Pacific Palisades, you are under some sort of evacuation order, given the threat of those winds and the destructive ability of the winds. Let's go on the ground now to Chelsea Edwards. She has been giving us a look at all of those cars that have been bulldozed. It looks like you've now moved locations.
A little bit. So we've taken a right onto Palisades Drive. This is where all those homes are, where the fire actually jumped the road. And this is where firefighters had to make that call to just separate the people who are to the south and to the north of that fire path and to say go back and shelter in place or to continue on to Sunset Boulevard. So you can see this wind has just kicked up again. I mean, look at these palm fronds up at the top. So firefighters just doing everything they can to kind of stabilize this area right now. If you look in the distance, it's kind of hard to make out with all the smoke in the air, but you can see that charred hillside. I mean, these flames came right down to the base of this shopping center, right up against those homes up on the top. I mean, it's pretty incredible when you look at the work that firefighters did to save the property in this area. Of course, their first priority is saving lives, and that's what they were trying to do when they told people to go back up the hill, back to their homes and to shelter in place while the fire came closer and closer. But that good news that we've been reporting, we just saw another convoy of cars coming down. Those folks who were up there and told to shelter in place, they've been making their way down this hill with police escorts and then making their way onto Sunset Boulevard. And again, I would tell you, just looking at their faces, you can tell they have been through a lot today. I mean, just the stress and the worry and the relief of finally being able to come down this hill and to finally evacuate. Everybody just looks relieved to be getting out of there. So I want to show you, or kind of set the scene here. So here's the bulldozer that we believe, or at least one of them, that sort of bulldozed those cars out of the way to make room for emergency responders and for people who were evacuating. It's just sitting here on standby as firefighters continue their work. There a lot of activity coming up and down Palisades Drive. Fire officials that are coming back and forth, police officers going back and forth. Again, their goal is to get everybody who is up there to come down the mountain and to evacuate now. And then also to make sure that this fire, if any embers are carried because of this crazy wind, that they don't spark other spot fires and that they don't start setting more property on fire. Because again, up when we look up this canyon, we have seen several, I would say at least 10 very large plumes of black smoke, which indicates that there is property that has been lost up somewhere at the top of Palisades Drive. We haven't driven up there. Here's another example of that. So if you look up in the sky, you can see this kind of plume. So I don't know what's back there. I don't know what's over that ridge, but it looks like something is burning up there. And if we look over here as well, I mean, you can just see, again, the smoke that's just being pushed down the mountain. And here's another convoy. So this is what we keep talking about. These are these residents who were told to go back up the hill. Police are going, they're rounding them all up, and then they're taking them down safely, kind of, in lines like this, just making sure that everybody is safe. So some good news for these residents, but really a harrowing day for everybody who's been here. I'll send it back to you guys.
All right, Chelsea Edwards, thank you. We're looking at a live picture right now from Ed Laskos and his crew, who is joining our coverage now for the first time. Ed, talk about where you are and what you're seeing.
This is something we don't want to see. It means now that this fire burning within the village of the Palisades, Haverford and Antioch across here. A lot of these old homes. This is Antioch. We are just south of the cross Haverford. Several of these homes up in flames. They started smoldering a little while ago from all the burning embers coming off the hillside. And now you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 5 of these homes burning out of control. The wind swirling down here, whipping the flames around. Next block over, some more homes. Some that you just saw a few minutes ago with the, we had a transformer, an electrical transformer explode over there. This is all out of control. Burning embers all over the place, whipped around by those winds. And this is something, if you're familiar with the Palisades village, just as a block just behind Gelson's, the main center of the village itself. A lot of these homes been here for decades, and now they're tree-lined streets. Antioch right over here, it is burning. You can hear it popping. Active fire, all out of control. No firefighters here. This is just something where you're left to the whims of nature, and these winds blowing the embers all the way through. Last half hour or so, the wind's really picking up here, and as Mike has been showing our photographers, you see all the smoke blowing through. I'm sure you can also see some of the burning embers too. But these homes burning, it is a wildfire, an out of control blasting wildfire. Look at all these embers blowing through here. Unbelievable scene. This is in the Palisades village, again about a block south of Gelson's, right in the heart of the village itself. We were hoping in this area that the fire would stay up on the hillside itself to the north side of Sunset Boulevard. That was the hope, but now the fire is really roaring here. The heat coming back. We're going to pull back here a little bit, Mikey, because the embers really becoming dangerous. And as these embers blow up through, there are some more homes obviously right off to the other side. They are at risk too. Again, this is Antioch. It is a block south of Haverford, about 2 blocks south of Sunset, right behind the Gelsons in the heart of the Palisades village. The fire here burning out of control.
Ed, I want to give you a second to catch your breath, and maybe we can just take this sound full and listen in to the sound coming off of Mike Armijo's camera for a moment. So you can hear those ferocious winds, and you can hear the destruction. Ed Lasco says we bring you back into this. Ed, I know you know this neighborhood, the Palisades, so well. Can you talk about this community, the character of this community? Whoa! And there we're looking at power lines. This is especially dangerous. Talk about the community if you can.
Yeah, I will, but I was going to mention also the power line. Some of the firefighters were going by here a little while ago. There's still some folks in this area who haven't left, and they've been on the loudspeaker telling them, oh, as we have some more of the transformers blowing up here. They were warning people to watch out for the down power lines, thinking that they are still energized, and as the fire hits the transformers, the wires come down. That even brings yet another situation. But to your point, Alex, yes, the Palisades, very quiet community, lots of children through here. The folks come here and they set up their homes because there's good schools in the area, very peaceful. Not much of a crime. We don't really get out here and do many stories because there's not much of a crime situation here. And then you have a fire like this that starts burning on the hill. And as you can see, these winds ripping right down Antioch, and there's no way to stop them. Firefighters have no way of controlling this, and it's just one home after the other as it goes down toward the ocean. And I was going to show Mikey. Mikey, can you look at this over here? This is interesting. Here's a spot fire. This is the home right across the street. Look at this. That's how these things happen. The embers, remember, we saw them blowing. It's now into that hedge, burning this home. And that, without any firefighters down here, is probably going to threaten and blow over and catch this hedge on fire. This vegetation and these homes are going to be at risk too. But look how quickly just a little ember like that gets going. There's a big pine tree right overhead. This whole area looks like a bomb, a war zone. Look at this. I'm standing in it, and I can't even believe it.
So no firefighters that you see on the street right now?
No, there are no firefighters here at all. But again, it's not a crack or slap at the firefighters. They've got their hands full.
Right, sure.
Look at those burning embers down at the bottom of the street. Look at that. My goodness. Right. So everybody is down here. I don't see any more of the residents down here. There are some folks who are driving around taking pictures. But yeah, watch over to your left there, sir. This hedge is really going over there now. So it doesn't take long at all. Matter of seconds, it's going. There's another spot fire on the other side. So this home and the home right next to it, threatening as well. But no, we haven't seen any firefighters down here. But what could they do? Look at this. You see all these embers, big pieces, chunks of the palm trees blowing through here. The wind blowing through. It looks like just somebody turned on the gas on your stove and it's just roaring out of control.
And you said that the residents, thank goodness, they've evacuated. No one's there.
Watch out for these wires. No, yeah, watch out. Yeah, well, yeah, let's back up. But these wires are also popping. There's that embers off to the left there. Look at that. That's that hedge. Remember, we saw that just about 2-3 minutes ago. It's going. That home, my goodness, it's threatened as well. But no, Marla, to your point, we have not seen any residents. A couple of folks here with their little cameras out, perhaps with social media or something. They're taking some pictures. But no, what we haven't seen, luckily, any folks around here. Was a few folks on Sunset going through the village itself earlier. Oh, there goes that house, or what's left of it, all the way down at the end of that block. But luckily, most of this area, and again, we are just behind Gelson's, the heart of the village of the Palisades. It's evacuated, and this street, Antioch, just below Haverford, several homes, 5, 6 by my count, burning, several more threatened.
What a picture. As we keep pointing out that the winds are just going to pick up. You know, we're nearing the 5 o'clock hour. This fire broke out at 10:30 this morning as just 10 acres. It's now close to 1,300. I'm sure it's well above that. We haven't gotten an update in a couple of hours. And we're just seeing that this is one street in the Palisades. As Ed has said, this is the heart of it, right behind the Gelsons.
Yeah, and look how quickly that fire, like right here, as Ed just showed us, that was almost nothing a few seconds ago. And let's hope that does not turn into a fire right there to that house, but there's really nothing to stop it. And this is the challenge for firefighters during these events. We saw this happen in 2018 during the Woolsey fire, which also exploded in size and was one of the worst fires in Southern California. When there's this ferocious of winds able to take embers in this many directions this quickly, there are simply not enough firefighters to be everywhere at all times. And so what happens is they have to pick and choose. And what happens is you have a street like this where there are no firefighters because they're busy somewhere else guarding another street. And then half the block is gone in a matter of minutes. It is the nightmare scenario for neighbors and residents. And this has got to be so sickening, I'm imagining, for the residents who may be living on this street and watching our stream or watching this on a different station and knowing that their home is now burning and there's nobody there to stop it. The good news is the people are out. The tough news, though, for these people is there's really nothing that can be done to stop this, at least in the interim, because some streets at this point, just because of the numbers, are going to burn, and some streets are going to be protected, and sometimes it just is lucky in being in the right place at the right time. And it's oftentimes, Marla, we see on these streets where 1 or 2 homes or 3 homes burn, and then across the street, the home is fine. And so, unfortunately, for the people that live right here, their home is not going to be fine. I mean, just a picture that looks like something literally straight out of hell. As now the sun starts to go down, and these images are going to be all the more ominous as we see these flames, and it's going to be dark outside, and it's going to be lit up by these orange pictures and this black smoke.
It is 4:50, so we are just minutes away until the official sunset. This is just one street in the Palisades. This is Antioch Street. This gives you an idea of how destructive those winds are, how destructive the flames are. You talk about numbers and being outsized by the flames. LAFD has just over 250 personnel, firefighters on the scene to tackle this fire that is quickly growing out of control. And they even made that a point at the press conference that we heard them deliver just over an hour, almost hour and a half ago at 3:30. They said it's burned 1,262 acres, but we know that the worst is yet to come. We heard that from multiple officials out there. There's 46 engines. They have 5 helicopters, LAFD themselves. Then there's those super scoopers. There's the issue of, my goodness, you see that flame, those flames getting more and more intense. The power lines. Ed, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. Holding on. We just got a big gust, as you could see it here. Mikey, Good idea. Let's get back. But Alex, you were saying it's like the balls of hell you're looking into. Those gusts come through, and it's just a wall of flames right down the street itself. More homes catching off to the left, where maybe we were looking at that hedge. The top of the hedge is now burning, and I think it's actually caught the top of that home on fire. So there is just nothing you can do at this point. This fire roaring out of control. And even if there were firefighters here, to your point earlier, how are you going to stop this? You've got these embers burning all over the place. You can hear the transformers, the gas tanks exploding as this fire roars down the street. There's no stopping it at this point. And these winds, here comes another big gust. In the last 10 minutes or so, they were steady, but we've been getting more of the gusts. The sundowner winds coming through, and that's even just fanning these flames even more. Look at that. Look at the embers. Look at it just blowing it through like crazy.
Ed, you've been doing this for many years. This has got to be one of the worst you've ever seen.
Yeah, very much so. And usually when you see this, to be honest with you, fire control can keep it up. They do a great job keeping it in the hills, in the mountains, above the communities itself. And when this started earlier, I was thinking the same thing, that those brave men and women with their strike teams and the airdrops would keep it up, keep it from jumping over Sunset. But I never imagined these winds, which would carry these embers sometimes a mile or two, just below this. I've never seen anything like this, especially in a very tight area like this, a metropolitan area. Usually you see it in the canyons down in Orange County or something like that. But here, Palisades, the village, my God.
Yeah, and we think about the Franklin fire, Marla, when you and I were on the air until 4 o'clock in the morning a few weeks ago, when this was burning in Malibu. And the fear was that this would happen there. And in fact, it largely didn't. There were some areas that were impacted, but a lot of the worst of it, these sort of images, which we feared were happening, didn't happen there. But now it is happening in Pacific Palisades. The number of structures lost for this is already significantly more than what we saw for that Franklin fire, which was the last time we had a wind event similar to this one.
Yeah, it looked really bad as we brought you that coverage, but it turned out to be not so bad. It could have been a lot worse, but this, on the other hand, looks terrible, and it is terrible, and it's going to get worse. The personnel from LAFD certainly outnumbered by the strength of the winds. They do have, I was talking a little earlier about at their disposal in terms of aircraft. They do have 5 helicopters. There are the super scoopers that we saw do some great work earlier. They were dipping into the Pacific Ocean to make those water drops. The super scoopers, we saw 2 of them. They are able to carry about 1,600 gallons of water per drop. That makes a significant impact. But the question is, flying at night is a whole other thing. A lot of times they cannot. And Governor Newsom was making the point that it's not just that the aircraft can't handle the turbulence from the winds. It's that the fire retardant just gets splashed all the way around, and it doesn't make it an efficient drop. And so it's sort of useless. That was the point that he was making earlier. So the firefight mainly from the ground at this point. And just to get a handle on it, obviously there's 0% containment. We haven't talked about the cause at this point. It could have been caused by anything. There was one person who said that on New Year's Day, there was concern about fireworks, and there was a small brush fire that ignited. That was quickly put out. Was this caused by fireworks? It's way too early to tell, but nonetheless, it is here and it is getting worse.
And with these winds, you don't need much of a flame to start a fire. And once it starts, as we see, it's almost impossible to stop it. You can stop it in certain areas, but you can't stop all of it. And while this is happening at Ed's location, we know, because we saw Matthew Seedorf a short time ago, there's more fires, more structures burning at his location. We saw structures in danger at Chelsea Edwards' location. We got structures burning in Christy Fajardo's location. Those are at least 4 different areas. And that's just where our crews are. There may be more burning in some of the more remote areas as well that we can't get to right now, that fire crews, frankly, may not even know is happening because there is so much happening at the same time. We are in that sort of fog of war phase of this where everybody's doing their best to save lives. But, not all the information is always totally accurate because people are in crisis mode, and we are in the midst of that crisis. Certainly this particular street is. This is, an area that we've been talking to residents, although it is, so close and in danger of burning. A lot of the residents we've spoken with say that it hasn't burned in decades. And unfortunately, that is now happening, the thing they've all been fearful of at the same time. So we're looking at the live picture on the ground. On the top left of your screen is a live picture from our Santa Monica cam, I believe. Or actually, this is from our station in West LA, our rooftop looking. This is our view from the station. You get a sense of that. And it's not only impacting, obviously, all these homes, but air quality for the entire west side of certainly Los Angeles and beyond is going to be impacted by all that smoke. And the traffic in the already congested west side is especially bad tonight because of these fires and road closures and all the rest of it. We certainly saw that near our station here firsthand, but that's all secondary to the efforts to protect life and the efforts to try to protect property. But some of those efforts are in vain as we watch these homes continue to burn.
Yeah, as we do that, let's remind you of the evacuation centers that are in place. If you have small animals, you can go to the Westwood Rec Center. That's between, that's on Sepulveda between Wilshire and Ohio. The Dream Center has also opened up its doors. That's in Hollywood, the Dream Center. And then if you have large livestock, Pierce College is also taking your animals. And that's the same case with LA County Animal Shelter, as you can see on your screen on Agora Road in Agora. So Pierce College in Woodland Hills taking large livestock, and the LA County Animal Shelter in Agora, that is taking the small pets there. So those are the evacuation centers that are set up for tonight. We've heard from a lot of the residents who obviously they've lived there for a long time. They have friends that live in nearby Brentwood, and they're able to seek some reprieve there for the night. So two live pictures, two very stunning live pictures. The one on the smaller picture is from the roof of our studios here in West Los Angeles at Fox 11. You can see the active flames and the massive plume of smoke enveloping the skyline on this Tuesday evening. And then also the bigger picture here, this is Antioch Street in the city of Pacific Palisades. By the way, just population of just some 23,000 people who live here, and already more than 1,300 acres have burned since 10:30 this morning.
Yeah, let's take you. This is a live picture right now from LAX, where I believe Air Force One, I think, is still parked. And this is the image. If you imagine coming into Los Angeles or even flying out of Los Angeles, and this is what you see as you come in, that massive plume of smoke. That gives you a sense. I mean, this is miles and miles away from this, which gives you a sense of how big that smoke is and how many people are seeing it in their evening commute tonight. And people flying in and out, and we don't have any reports of major delays, but still challenging, I would imagine, to be flying in and out of Los Angeles tonight as well, with the winds that everybody is dealing with. And again, the worst of the winds are still to come later tonight. We want to pause for a moment as we welcome everybody at the top of the hour. You are watching the Fox 11 News at 5 o'clock, which is simulcast on both Fox 11 and Fox 11 Plus. Good evening. I'm Alex Michelson.
And I'm Marla Tejas. We've been on the air with you since taking over for the crew on Good Day LA since 2:30 this afternoon, and our coverage continues. Here's what we know about the Pacific Palisades Fire, simply called the Palisades Fire. Almost 1,300 acres burned, 0% contained, 30,000 people under mandatory evacuation orders, 10,000 homes threatened. We just went over some of those evacuation centers. I'll do so again. The Westwood Rec Center in Westwood, the Dream Center in Hollywood, Pierce College in Woodland Hills for large livestock, and the LA Animal County Center in Agora Hills for the smaller pets. Westwood Rec Center is also taking the smaller pets.
If you are just joining us on Fox 11 Plus, where we are now just beginning our coverage, I know many of you have been joining us on Fox 11. There are other folks that are streaming us right now on the Fox local app. We thank you for joining us, and it just get you caught up. What we're looking at right now is one of the most devastating wildfires that we have seen in Southern California in several several years. We know of at least 20 different structures that we've personally witnessed that have burned today. That number could rise. That's just our crews trying to get a sense of what they're seeing on the ground. And there is an active firefight going on, and in some places, homes are just burning. We want to welcome you inside our studio and just let you know that we have live team coverage that we are going to be on commercial free throughout the night with you to help guide you through this life-threatening situation. We've got reporters all over Southern California, including our Matthew Seedorf, who joins us right now. Matthew, I know you have seen far too many homes burning. Not sure if Matthew can hear us.
Yeah, I don't know. We're having some issues with our microphone out here, but we're off Washington Lane. You can see the massive fire. We were out here about 30 minutes ago. The firefighters are doing their best trying to contain this home specifically with water. But if you pan over to the fire hydrant,
yeah. Matthew, despite your best efforts, we're having a hard time with the mic, so it's hard to hear you.
Yeah,
we're sorry about that.
Maybe, Matthew, if you can stand right in front of the camera, because the only thing we're getting you from is the camera mic. So maybe if you talk right to that, we might be able to hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me on the NAT mic right now?
Yeah, so just talk loudly.
Yeah, you can hear me. Okay, good. So basically, we rejoined you about 30 minutes ago. Firefighters were actually trying to put out the flames on this home off Lockman Lane. Since then, they've lost water pressure on the hydrant. So basically, this fire is just growing out of control. And there's at least 3 or 4 homes on this street alone that are without, trying to get water on top of the homes that are on fire. I would estimate that we've seen probably more than a dozen homes at least damaged by flames today, but it's not a good situation as the winds continue to pick up right now.
Yeah, you've really been in the thick of it all day long. At one point, even picking up the hose yourself and trying to put out a spot fire. All right, you stay safe. We'll check in with you when we can. Matthew, thank you. Let's go to our chief meteorologist, Adam Kruger. You've been warning about these destructive winds since last week, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, it was a concerning weather setup. It looked like it was going to be that way since last week. We're seeing it play out right now. And really the big story going forward from this point is the fact that the winds will get stronger tonight and peak really late tonight through early tomorrow morning. One thing I thought was interesting, I just had a couple notes I wrote down as we were watching Ed Laskos' live shot just a few minutes ago. We saw he was reporting there were some gusts, bursts of wind that started happening as he was reporting. I think that's just the beginning of the ramp up of the winds. By the way, I'm going to animate this going forward in a moment, but I think that's just the beginning of the winds ramping up. So we're going to see more of those bursts start to happen over the next several hours. Another thing we saw near Ed was one of the embers just flew right across where he was standing. And then we saw a bush light on fire. And it reminded me of like the demonstrations you see online or what the fire department will do, showing what can happen with a Christmas tree, and they'll do a demonstration in a parking lot of how quickly it will become engulfed. And that's what it reminded me of. It was just kind of amazing to see that happen and play out in real time. Also, where he's reporting from, densely populated area, not like it's on the border of a neighborhood. There's homes all around it. And I was looking at the map. We've been talking about the 1,200 or so acres being marked as least how much acreage has burned so far. But where he was reporting from with some of the homes on fire, that was like 6 or 7 streets over from the border of the 1,200 acres. So it'll be interesting to see when the next update comes out from the officials as to what the acreage would be. And we know it's going to be higher, but it might be substantially higher from what I'm seeing. And again, now as we look at the forecast here, we're going to see those winds just kind of really ramp up. So here we are starting right about now. I've got the Pacific Palisades marked right here, but also you'll see big numbers on many other parts of the map as well. Here's a look at 7 o'clock this evening. Here's 9 o'clock this evening. Now look at the drastic increase in the forecast wind gusts. Now keep in mind, these are gusts, not sustained winds. There's a difference there. Gusts would be be just how strong the winds could be in instantaneous moments, just like a burst that might get up over 60 miles per hour. So that's what these numbers mean. Sustained winds will still be really high, maybe something like 30, 40 mile per hour sustained winds, which would be like the average wind speed over a couple minutes. So again, here's 9 o'clock tonight. Now, as we go through the night, I think the winds are going to hold at that strength pretty much all night long. Here's a look at 2 a.m. We see big numbers all across the area, not just around the Palisades, but a lot of the mountains north of LA, valleys as well. Look at Burbank. Our model says near 70 mile per hour gusts there, for example. Going into 4 o'clock in the morning, it's basically the exact same story. Here's 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. We see some differences in some spots, but it's just widespread purple, which is not good. That means very strong wind gusts. We see the high numbers, for example, 70 at the Pacific Palisades. And something I mentioned earlier today is this is a computer model. This is a projection. Doesn't mean the winds are going to exactly play out like this, but it gives us a really good indication as to what type of wind speeds we're looking at. It may differ a little bit, but you get the idea. Really strong winds and the same wind direction, basically from the northeast throughout this whole event. Now, here we go into the end of the day Wednesday. This is 6 p.m. And this is a crucial point because 6 p.m. tomorrow is when the high wind warnings expire across our area. So that means we passed the worst of it, but still red flag conditions continue into Thursday. Relative humidity, we've seen those below 10% or below 20% in some spots today. It's tomorrow when we expect the air to actually get even drier. So relative humidity, we've seen those below 10% or below 20% in some spots today. It's tomorrow when we expect the air to actually get even drier. So two things working against us here. One is the winds get stronger tonight and into tomorrow morning. The other thing is the humidity will be going down even more tomorrow with some spots below 10%. I also want to point out one more thing before I send it back to you guys. So we've been talking about the red flag warning. It's widespread for today and tomorrow. And notice that the banner here I put for some areas Thursday. So let me switch from Tuesday, Wednesday. Now I'm just highlighting areas that are under a red flag warning just on Thursday. So there's a little spot here from around LA South where that's carved out, but still it's a widespread red flag warning. Even though the winds will be a little bit lower here, still a widespread red flag warning on Thursday. So again, strongest winds still to come tonight, just to kind of like summarize everything. And the air gets even a little bit drier tomorrow. And you know, we've seen video of these embers flying around. Things are catching on fire all over the place. Really, really difficult situation for those involved to try to mitigate this fire. It's going to be really tough, even from the air with the winds blowing this strong. Anything they might drop just gets blown away before it hits its target. Really, really tough next 24 hours ahead of us.
And Adam, the scary thing what you're talking about, because we just looked at that map, we're not just talking about Pacific Palisades. So it is very possible, almost likely, that we could have another fire in another area with the winds the way that they are.
Yeah, you know, you go into these scenarios. We had a similar kind of weather setup back in December, back in November. We know the big fires that ignited from those, but that's just up to chance. It's like wherever it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And the environment that we have around the Palisades exists, yes, everywhere across Southern California. So one little, spark or some small fire somewhere could lead to another situation like what we're seeing play out right now.
Yeah, and to check the calendar, it was December 9th that the Franklin fire erupted. Yep. That was in Malibu. That burned just over 4,000. That could have been worse. Just 20 structures destroyed. I say just, given that we thought it was going to be a whole lot worse, as we're now seeing nighttime video of the flames of the Palisades fire. Before that, in November, it was November 6th that the Mountain Fire in Ventura County erupted. That was very, very destructive, with almost 250 structures destroyed. And now here we are. Each month, there's been a significant fire incident, and we have the Palisades fire erupting on January the 7th, and now we're almost to 1,300 at last check. This is an ominous picture. I think this is Ed Lasco's picture, because you were just on Antioch Street behind the Gelsons, and here you are. Are you still on Antioch?
Yes. Yeah, we start exact same location, Marla. This fire, as the winds whip through here, really has turned into hell on earth. My goodness, look at that. This is Antioch. Across here is Haverford. We are about a block behind Gelson's. The alarming thing is the wind swirls. Mikey will give you a look at that. Home after home right down Antioch, burning. Nothing here to stop it. The flames, the winds, and we get a good look at it now because mostly it's covered in a lot of thick smoke as the winds swirl around here. But this is extremely alarming, not because you're watching homes burn live, but the hope from Fire Command is they were going to keep these flames north of Sunset, not let them jump over. We're right along Temescal Canyon that runs along Pali High, right down the PCH itself. And now you can see clearly the flames with these embers have jumped Sunset and now burning through this neighborhood. Several homes here lost, others over on the far. Another another one of the transformer blowing. Mikey, over here to the right, in that area through the smoke, that's another area that's right down along Temescal, right across from the high school itself. Look at the flames through there. You can see them through all the smoke, the dense smoke as it blows through. So it's basically one spot fire after another. To Adam's point, the winds here in the last 20 minutes, really, you get some very, very strong gusts. And when that happens, it's like raining lit sparks, lit embers. I'm sorry. Another blast of the wind came, blowing a lot of dust and debris and everything else at us. But look what these high gusts due to those flames just whip them up even more ferociously as they threaten to jump across Antioch itself. Over there, that is the area that is right along Temescal, right over by Palisades High School. That is threat. This whole area certainly is under evacuation notices. We haven't seen anybody here other than some folks coming around with their cameras, social media type, but everybody else is evacuated. No power in most of the area. Transformers exploding, lines coming down. The fire department going around telling everybody be careful about the lines that they come down because they're most likely energized, very dangerous, very deadly. But these gusts, look at those flames. We're getting another big gust through here. It really obscures your view with all the thick smoke, but it just whips those flames up even higher. I was thinking before, when you get even halfway down the block, you could feel the intense heat coming around, especially if the wind starts to blow it in your direction. And look at some of the debris blowing, and I think you can even see, look at all the sparks, the embers blowing from right to left on your screen, blowing across. Earlier we showed you the last half hour, there was a hedge across the street, large hedge, maybe 6-7 feet high. That caught on fire. It's burnt now alongside. Luckily that the home itself, to my view, hasn't lit up on fire. That's the good news there. But all the way down the street, even as I bend around this side to the left, it's nothing but one home after another burning. Fire department, again, nowhere in sight. They've got their hands full in some other areas, but again, there are so many spot fires burning up here. We see this section of Antioch over there on Temescal, the right, and then some other sections along Sunset. But the really frightening part of this is the flames with these winds and the embers. It's jumped across Sunset now, burning on the south side of Sunset, being pushed by these gusts, being pushed down toward PCH itself.
Ed Lascos, thank you. What a picture.
Yeah.
Absolutely devastating. Let's check in with Christy Fajardo. She has another look now that the sun has set. Christy, looks like you're working to make sure your microphone's on.
Christy, we can hear you now, Christy.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I apologize. We're having some technical problems. I just got word that the senior center is burning, and I'm actually a block away from where Ed is, and you can tell how dark it is. There's so much smoke, but there's actually an apartment building that's now on fire here on Sunset Boulevard. And for a couple of hours, we had not seen any firefighters, but they did come in here with several engines, and they're tackling that apartment fire as we speak. I also saw a home burning down on Radcliffe and Havenford. So quite a few things are on fire. And if we pan this way, I can show you, that's the Gelsons, just to give you an idea of where we are. And we're standing in the parking lot of the 76 station, and someone from the gas station has been out watering the parking lot now for a couple of hours. In fact, he's still here with his hose. And even though it looks like this, he has not evacuated, although he told me he will at some point. And about 2 minutes ago, right before you came out live to me, we saw a whole stream of cars. Apparently, some holdouts now have decided it is time to get out as this fire keeps burning and pushing in our direction. And again, we are at Villa de la Paz and Sunset, so we're smack dab in the middle of the Palisades Village, and this is the scene right now. You can see how dark the sky is. You can also probably hear the gusts of wind, and for a couple of hours we've been hearing fire alarms go off, but it appears that the power is now out. We're not hearing those smoke alarms and those fire alarms going off any longer, but we do know that an apartment complex, a very large one, is now on fire. Let's send it back to you.
Christy, thank you so much for that. Haley Winslow, she's on the ground. You were at the command post earlier. Where are you now?
Hey there. Yes, we are just down the road from basically where the press conference happened with Governor Newsom and the chief, both of police and fire. They had some really big mobile command posts, big rigs kind of thing that they had to move in. So they asked us to move down the parking lot. But check it out, you guys. Those are the flames right there. And the smoke is incredible. I mean, it's almost enveloping the entire sky here. We're just at Will Rogers State Beach still, off of the PCH here. The ocean's literally on the other side of this parking lot. And the presser wrapped up probably a half hour ago. I did just talk to Eric Scott, though, a few minutes ago. He's, of course, the PIO of LAFD. And I said, if there's one message that you want to get out to the public, what would you want me to say? And he said, don't ever abandon your car like people did today. I mean, he said it was a disaster. They had to bring in a bulldozer to literally remove the cars. And he said, of course, you know, if there's flames in your car, that's one thing. But unless you absolutely have to, never leave your vehicle like that or move it over to the, you know, obviously to the side of the road, because it was a huge disaster for everybody behind those parked cars. It was gridlocked. So, and they couldn't get in, the first responders. So we've got some video of those cars showing people just literally getting out. And there was, I think we said earlier today, 100 people walking. And he said what often happens is, you know, somebody panics, they see somebody else walking, and it was kind of just a domino effect. But it was a really, really big chaotic mess for firefighters trying to get into the fire. And of course, those vehicles left behind, he said, we don't mess around. We brought in a bulldozer and removed them. So that's the one thing that he wanted to say. You know, of course, I asked him about this fire, and we asked Governor Newsom, what's the plan? What's the plan in place with the worst winds yet to come tonight, starting at 10 p.m. And the fire is moving southwest right now, of course, with these big northeast winds. And he said that they've got all boots on the ground. They do have more aircraft. So I have a couple of close friends who were in the fire trapped, and they said, please ask him why we're not seeing more helicopters and more tankers, more aircraft in the sky. And about 4 different people at that press conference touched on that, and they said, you know, we can fly around all day and not do anything. The aircraft can handle these winds. The problem is they're retardant. They have to be able to aim correctly on the fire, on the flames, or it's just useless. And Governor Newsom actually had some really interesting input about that. He said with AI, with technology, they've got some incredible game-changing technology down the road that will really help with these wildfire fights. Of course, that's not, you know, good news for people today, but they do have boots on the ground, obviously here in our region, and then they have resources coming from Northern California, of course, Cal Fire, and then they can always bring in resources, they said, from other states if need be. So they are, according to them, on top of this. And, you know, I said, this is only one fire. You know, what if another wildfire breaks out similar to this one tonight when the winds pick up? And they, of course, have a plan in place ready for that, too, with more resources on the way. Reporting live here in Will Rogers State Beach, I'm Haley Winslow. I'll send it back to you guys.
Haley, do we know why the people started abandoning the cars? Or what was the, oh, sorry, hey, Marla, you have something you want to share?
Well, no, go ahead. I'll go.
Well, go ahead, Marla.
There were concerns. There's a lot of reports, and you're looking at it online, that the Getty Villa, the precious Getty Villa, was on fire. We're working to confirm that. There are some images online that show the vegetation around the villa engulfed in flames. We're just getting word that the CEO of the villa says that the staff remains safe and the art collection remains safe, though trees and vegetations on the site have burned. So it doesn't seem that the actual museum has caught fire. The statement goes on to say irrigation was immediately deployed throughout the grounds. Tuesday morning, museum galleries and library archives were sealed off from smoke by state-of-the-art air handling systems. And the double-walled construction of the galleries also provides significant protection for those collections.
Wow.
And lastly, the Getty Villa will remain closed to the public through at least Monday. So it seems that the Getty Villa itself has been spared at this point, but we will be checking on that.
Haley, I want to let you answer that question. We saw all those cars out there. Do we know, like, what started the first person to say, I'm abandoning my car? Do we have any background on that?
So I thought it was, there had to be flames coming into the car. I know from a boating background, you never leave the boat unless you have to, and it's kind of the similar situation. Eric Scott said, don't ever leave your car unless there are literally like flames in your car. And so he said, during a fire, there's two kinds of people. There's the person who's cool, calm, and collected and is like, it's just another fire. We dealt with this a dozen times before. And it obviously gets much worse than they expect. And then there's the second person who just panics. And he believes that it was somebody who just panicked and thought, I'm not getting anywhere. I can't get anywhere. I got to get out. I got to get to my house or get out of the way wherever they were trying to go. Mm-hmm. But instead of moving off the road out of traffic, they just literally parked their car in the road. And then what happened was that when everyone else followed suit, there was a massive backup behind them, and first responders couldn't get through.
Yeah, we've seen those images throughout the afternoon, and I heard those reports earlier that they were so frustrated that they were literally gridlocked and stopped with nowhere to go. Yeah. That is why that they got out of their cars. Let's go to Chelsea Edwards. She is close to the Getty Villa. Chelsea, what can you tell us?
I mean, look at what we're seeing here. So we're standing on PCH. We drove down Sunset and took a left. I mean, look at this. Whatever this was now completely destroyed. I believe that we're south of the Getty Villa, though. But when you look up the canyon, you can see what looks like columns, which I know we see at the Getty Villa. But again, I don't think that that's where we are. It is so hard to get oriented here because of this thick smoke. It's just hard to tell where you are. But again, we drove south on Sunset Boulevard, took a left on PCH, and that's where we are now. Now, if we look to the south, you can see fire personnel down there. You can see how it actually has jumped, or it appears to have jumped PCH down in the distance from where we're standing here. Again, very hard to tell because it's just so dark and so soupy. I mean, it's like nighttime out here. I mean, it is nighttime out here, but you can barely see anything. But look at these flames. So it looks like there was a structure here on the bottom ground, kind of near PCH. And then you go up into the hillside and something very large is burning up there. We keep hearing what sounds like things collapsing, like wood falling onto itself. Some things just falling all over the place up there. Very loud sounds of things collapsing. So we're not sure exactly what's burning, but something very large up there. And again, you can see this wind just pushing off into the ocean. We're standing right up against the beach here on PCH, and you see these embers flying as well. These are large embers. I mean, the good news is obviously you've got the ocean right here, so there's nothing to burn when it gets to this side of PCH and nothing further than that. But I mean, everything on this hillside is charred. Now, I want to show you to the north as well, if we can do this, Elliot. So it looks like everything to the north of this area has already burned. You can see a lot of those embers, some hot spots that are kind of up in that area. Now, near where we're standing is a mobile home park, and we're getting reports that there are mobile homes in that park, kind of up on that hillside there, that are on fire. We've not confirmed those independently, but we have been hearing that. So we're going to head in that direction in just a bit and see what we can find there. I believe it's called the Malibu Village Mobile Home Park, but that's kind of right where we're standing. But look at these large spot fires. I mean, you've got some brush that looks like it's on fire there. Lots of smoke coming off of all of this. Again, it looks like a lot of this is already burned here along PCH, which, is good news. It looks like we're in a safe spot, at least right here. This is all just charred hillside, but whatever this is, obviously a total loss. Whatever above it is a total loss. Oh, and then let's look to the south, Elliot. See this big, looks like we just got a big cloud covering it, big thing of smoke, but there was another fire I just saw to the south. We can see those flames kind of poking out. Do you see that? Not sure what that is, but this is where it looks like it jumped PCH. And is now burning kind of on both sides. Again, the good news, obviously, there's nothing on this side of PCH. There's nothing left here to burn. But you can see those embers kind of crossing this parking lot as well here at the beach. Just incredible images. Another thing I just want to point out, we've got 3 American flags that are posted just on that side. You can see them right across PCH. Those are still intact. Everything around them has burned. The structure to the back of it has burned. The hillside all around it has burned. But those 3 American flags remain up and untouched as of now. Wow. But look again at these structures. You see these big, large beams just being consumed. They're falling. I mean, this is just, look at these embers as well. Look at that. Just raining down on this parking lot on the beach. Just, I've never seen anything like this. I mean, we've been covering these fires for years here in Los Angeles, and this is just, this is on another level.
Definitely one of the worst of all time that we are witnessing in real time together. Chelsea Edwards, and photographer Elliot Mendoza. Thanks for your great work out there. We want to bring in the conversation right now Callie, who joins us on the phone. I was just asking Haley Winslow about why did people abandon their cars? What sparked that? Well, she's one of those people that was stuck in the middle of that, and she can give us some answers on what was happening. Callie, thanks so much for being with us. Walk us through what happened.
Hi, thank you so much. My husband went to go pick up my daughter from Calvary on Palisades Drive, and the fire was just way too close on both sides of Palisades Drive that people were scared for their lives, so they got out of their cars to go down, and then I live up in the Highlands and tried to drive down, and because people abandoned their cars, I wasn't able to get down, so I drove my car back up and took a bicycle all the way down the hill. And people in my neighborhood on Monte Alto Street are actually still in their homes because they don't think it's safe enough to go down Palisades Drive.
Well, hopefully we can show that video of the cars so people know what we're talking about. Here it is. These are cars that were abandoned, and then fire crews had no way to get up the street, so they brought in a bulldozer and then moved them all to the side and totaled a lot of the cars in the process. So is your car one of these?
Callie, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
So as far as I understood your story, you were going to get stuck in the backup of people abandoning their cars, but you turned your car around, went back to location A and got your bike and then rode your bike down. So you didn't end up having to abandon your car as others did. Is that right?
No, but my husband was one that he also went down and he had to abandon his car.
I see, because the flames were just coming too close. What is your status currently tonight?
I'm staying at a hotel in Santa Monica and praying my house doesn't burn down.
Is your family safe? Your I think you said your daughter and your husband?
Yes, everybody's safe, but I'm really concerned about my neighbors who are just sheltering in place still because they don't think they can get down that road.
And they think this because of the cars or because of the flames?
The flames and the cars, because everybody was turned away at one point and told to shelter in place.
Wow. And now we're looking at some video of some of these cars that were when they were moved by that bulldozer and moving around like little toys. I think about how strong that thing is there. So, Callie, how are you processing all of this?
I'm just happy that I'm with my family, but of course it's very gutting to know that I don't have any of my belongings with me.
Oh, we're so sorry to hear that. How long have you been a resident of the Pacific Palisades?
We actually moved from Topanga 3 years ago because I was so worried about the fires there.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. And traditionally, the Palisades has been able to be spared from a lot of these fires for many, many years. Can you talk about, and obviously it sounds like your husband experienced this really, just what the chaos was like of that moment with the cars and everybody being stuck and just what that felt like, what people were saying?
So I was taking a bicycle down Palisades Drive, and the palm trees in the middle of the road, the tops were all on fire. There were cars on fire. It was very scary. There was fire on both sides of the street. I'm just grateful I got out.
Did you get a formal evacuation warning from the city, from LAFD, or did you make the call on your own?
No, there's not very good service up there right now.
So you made the call on your own?
Yes, my neighbors told me to stay, and they're still there.
Have you had contact with them since?
Yes, and they said that they don't feel safe driving down Palisades Drive right now.
Wow. Well, hopefully maybe we can put some of those people in touch with rescue crews or maybe firefighters or somebody who can help get them out.
Yes, they're on Monte Alto.
Monte Alto. Okay, maybe we can make that happen.
All right, we will do our best to pass that word along. Obviously, they are pretty busy right now too, but we appreciate you sharing that word with us, and we wish you the best and hope we can stay in touch with you in the hours ahead.
And we hope that your home is spared. Kelly, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
It's now 5:30. You were watching the Fox 11 News at 5, a night that we will not soon forget here in Southern California. Alex Michelson, Marla Tejas here with you for the evening as we are watching the Palisades Fire burn more than 1,200 acres, threatening 10,000 more. And we have seen probably at least 24 structures burn, if not more than that.
Let's go to the ground. I believe we're going to Chelsea Edwards on the ground, and you're along PCH, and you've seen some serious destruction behind you. There was talk of, you mentioned the big structure behind you that was burning. This may be the Villa de Leon.
That's what it's looking like on the maps. That certainly seems to match. I mean, look up there. You can see those columns. You see the fire just kind of shooting out of them right now. That's certainly what it appears to be. Again, it's very hard to get oriented where we are just because of this thick black smoke. Come down a little bit, Elliot. You can see the structure. Just a few minutes ago, that was standing, whatever that was. Now it's just a few beams. We just saw some huge collapses of some of the major structural beams there. There's hardly anything left there. And if you go even further south on PCH, I mean, we're just seeing these big clouds of black smoke sweeping down the hillside and coming toward the ocean. Not sure what it is up there that's burning, but it looks like they're kind of repositioning a lot of their firefighting efforts down this way. We just saw a convoy of fire officials that just were rushing down PCH. I see another one that's up in the distance coming down from the north. And again, you got like a police officer here. So it seems that they're focusing some of their efforts now on this section, which is south of Sunset Boulevard along PCH. And, you know, we're looking at these structures that are burning. Take a look up there. You see a ridge now on fire. The good news from where we're standing, at least, everything on this hillside is already burned. This is all charred. You just see some embers now, but everything to the sides of it are going up. I mean, that was nothing just a 60 seconds ago, and now you can see that ridge fully engulfed. Now, just up to the north a little bit, you can see this wind as well. I mean, it's just blowing. Now up there's a mobile home park that we have gotten reports that there are some structures that are on fire up there. Again, we have not independently confirmed those. We're not near any fire officials right now, so haven't confirmed that. But again, with the smoke that we're seeing and these sounds that we're hearing, I mean, just sounds like huge structures. Stones are falling down. You just can't make out what's going on, but I mean, just something to behold here. Again, that structure is now gone. There's nothing left of that. And look at the ferocity of this fire that's sweeping down toward the beach now. Look at that black smoke. I mean, whatever is burning up there is just completely engulfed in flames. It's sweeping across PCH. We saw it burning on the other side of PCH for a little while. I mean, there's nothing on this side really to burn other than some grass, and then you've got the beach and the water. So, I mean, that's the good news, at least on this stretch. There are no homes right where we're standing on this side of PCH. Of course, you go north and south, and that's not the case in other places. So I assume that's what firefighters are working on, trying to protect some of the structures that are on PCH, because this wind is certainly pushing the flames that direction. I mean, they're coming down the mountain and then toward the ocean. So, you know, it's hard to see what's happening down there. We see a lot of emergency personnel. Here's another part of that convoy, or at least a few other fire officials that are heading down there toward the south. So that's kind of where it looks like a lot of the action is happening. But just quite a scene to behold. I mean, it is just wild up here. You see a palm tree. I don't know if you can see this, Elliot, but see up at the very top, that's a tall palm tree up there. That was on fire just a second ago. You can see how parts of it are burning. You've got embers kind of in the trunk of that palm tree and then up on the fronds as well. So that's certainly a concern as well. You know, you get one of those palm fronds that is on fire and then gets carried in this wind. I mean, as we've said many times, they can go up, you know, as far as 2 miles. So you've got homes all up and down PCH, all up and in these hillsides as well. I mean, we're right in the Pacific Palisades, Santa Monica, just this way. And then you've got Malibu up there. So a lot of residential areas. And when you look at things like that, I mean, there's no way that firefighters can do anything about that without air support. I mean, that is so tall when you look at the height of where those embers are on that palm tree. So if you get those embers, you get those fronds that start flying around, especially in these winds, there's just nothing anybody can do. I mean, wherever they land, you're just at their mercy. I mean, there's no way to predict where they're going to go, and there's no way to fix it if they do land and catch something on fire. So very dangerous situation out here. And again, we're seeing a lot more support. I see more firefighters that are coming from the north down to the south down here on PCH to deal with whatever is happening down there. So it appears that this fire is kind of moving in this southwesterly direction. Again, kind of hard to get oriented on exactly where we are because it's just so hard to see. The visibility is so low here. But I mean, look again, just look at this. It just keeps getting worse, it seems like. It just structures back there, whatever is back there. Hopefully everybody got out and was able to evacuate because this whole hillside is just gone, Marla and Alex.
Wow. That picture really speaks for itself. And it looks like another structure may be burning there. We want to show you some video from...
Wow. Oh, did you hear that explosion?
Yes.
That sounded like a... I don't know what that was, a transformer or something, but that was large. I could feel that one, actually. Could feel the vibration from that one. Whatever that was very large.
I felt like we could feel that from here. All right, Chelsea, stay safe where you are. Let's show you this video if we can. So this is some video from a little earlier where we see how close the flames got, at least in that video, to the Getty Villa. Now, in this video, which was clearly posted to TikTok, we don't see the actual Getty Villa burning. We just see what's near the Getty Villa burning. And from what you said earlier, Marla, they have not said that the actual structure itself is burned.
Right. So to your point, the Getty Villa is a massive complex. The vegetation around it is burning, but the president and CEO put out a statement saying that the staff at Art Collection remain safe, and it's just some of those trees and vegetation on site that have burned. So at this point, and they have, as you can imagine, great protection given the museum, the art collection inside, the irrigation system they have on site. So at this point, all remains to be in one piece at the Getty Villa. And here's another live look.
This is Chelsea's camera.
shot.
And maybe let's just all be quiet for a moment and just try to listen in to the sounds of this right now and listen to these winds. Hear how dramatic that is in person, and how Chelsea and photographer Elliot Mendoza are doing a great job of even being able to stand up in all of that. You see that it looks like a bunch of fire crews have now arrived there. If this is indeed right near the Getty Villa, you wonder if they're going to work to try to save that structure. As we've talked about, you kind of have to prioritize, and that may be one of the things that they're going to prioritize. But you know, we don't know. Sometimes it gets so intense that you can't stop the fire, and we are seeing that. And look at this live picture. Wow, as it's gotten darker, you know, the dramatic image of that fire line right in the middle of, you know, one of the more populated areas of Southern California is just a sort of awe-inspiring and also scary sight. That picture coming to us from, I believe, our Santa Monica cam, looking back towards Pacific Palisades.
Let's go ahead and get a look at that forecast and the winds with Chief Meteorologist Adam Kruger. This is when you expected those winds to pick up. I know the later we get, the worse those winds will be traveling.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting is a little while ago, so just kind of like really dissecting what the computer model was showing, and I'll have that in a second here, but it was actually indicating around 5 to 6 p.m., just for like an hour, that the winds would slightly back off. And I'm looking at some of the weather instruments kind of near the Pacific Palisades. There's not a good one right in the heart of the city. But actually some of these, compared to about an hour ago, the winds have come down about 10 miles per hour. So that little 5 to 6 p.m. window, which we're in right now, seems to maybe be playing out, but then the winds will ramp up big time this evening. I'll get to that in a moment. I wanted to share this with you earlier, though, to give you some context. You know, people that have lived here a long time kind of get how it works around here with these extreme events coming every now and then. But if you're new here and you're wondering how rare it is to see what we have right now, which is a PDS red flag warning, stands for particularly dangerous situation. It was in 2020 when the National Weather Service started using this tag. It's reserved for the most extreme events. And from 2020 to the start of the season, that there was a gap where there was not a PDS red flag warning. Then we had one in November. You'll remember that was the fire around Camarillo, the mountain fire. Then we had another one in December. That was the Franklin fire around Malibu. And now we have the third one in this season issued, which is, I mean, they're already rare. They're kind of like every couple of years if you want to just average it out. And we've had 3 already this season. So what we're seeing this season is not normal for sure. 3 of these major events, just November, December, now January here with the one we're seeing right now. Okay, so before we even get to the forecast winds, we've got this red flag warning that's today and tomorrow. Then we head into Thursday, and still most of the area, excluding a part of the LA basin, let's say, most of the area is still in the red flag warning, which means we're still seeing dangerous fire weather conditions. But the worst of the winds now through tomorrow morning, and then the high wind warning ends at 6 p.m. tomorrow. Now we'll look at the forecast wind speeds starting right about now. Here's Pacific Palisades. But notice just as we look across the broad area, going a little later into the evening, 7 o'clock, we're kind of around where we're at right now. Watch the drastic increase when I move this forward from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. We see the numbers get quite a bit higher. We see the just overall coverage of the intense winds cover a lot more of the map. And then from there on out, we're just locked into winds like this from, let's say, 9 or 10 o'clock tonight all the way into tomorrow morning. So as I advance this now, here's 2 o'clock in the morning, for example, and this doesn't mean everywhere is going to have gusts over 60 at the same time, but winds of that nature will be possible. And we're talking gusts, not sustained winds, but bursts of winds that could be up that strong. Many areas across Southern California could face these or will face these types of winds with the very dry air. Now, here's 4 o'clock in the morning. Still, it's pretty extreme. Here we go into 10 o'clock in the morning. It is still what I would call extreme winds. And then we go later into the day on Wednesday, and you see the wind speeds back off a little bit. You see the coverage of the highest winds kind of cover less ground as we head into 7 p.m. Wednesday. So it's that point at which the high wind warning will end, and this is the reason why. But that doesn't mean we're totally in the clear. There's still red flag conditions that continue into Thursday. I also want to share with you the future humidity. So we're looking at forecast relative humidity, which we saw was below 20% today, including in the Pacific Palisades when this fire started at 10:30 this morning. Now, as we go into tomorrow, here's another thing working against us, is the air actually gets a little bit drier. It's already very dry, but the relative humidity, as you see in many spots, will be below 10% around midday tomorrow. So the fact that it gets drier and the fact that the winds are only increasing as we go through tonight and tomorrow morning, not a good scenario to say the least. 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. is the window the National Weather Service says the winds will be at their peak. I still think even into like 7, 8, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, they're going to be quite extreme. Again, we're just bracing for those gusts over 60 for a large part of the area. Very, very difficult situation. We heard earlier in the press conference, as I head back to you here, that they said, you know, they can fly their aircraft in winds like this, but whatever they drop, it's not going to do much good when the winds are this strong. It just gets blown away from their intended target.
All right, Adam Kruger, thank you. We'll check in with you in a second. Let's go back out to Fox 11's Matthew Seedorf. And Matthew, a not great update when it comes to Pali High.
Yeah, we just drove right past Palisades Charter High School, and there are portions of the building up in flames right now. We're right outside the school, and see we can walk across the street. This is towards the football stadium. I believe that is the score box on fire. As we're going to turn this way with all these embers flying. I do have an anemometer with me. It's measuring winds gusting to 35, 40 miles per hour with flames on the other side of the street as well. Let's see if we can push this way. And I'm actually with photojournalist Sam Dubin. You went to this high school, Sam. If you don't mind, what's this like?
It's heartbreaking. This is my alma mater. The baseball field's totally gone. Some of the buildings are gone. This house across the street's gone. This is the newer aquatic center, the Maggie Gilbert Aquatic Center. Looks okay right now. The classrooms appear okay, but it's just heartbreaking for everyone who went to this school. A lot of people have gone here over the years.
Yeah, I can't imagine just seeing that, especially as your alma mater. And we're looking at, looks like the pool right now, and then looking across the street, so we're battling these winds. More buildings have burned down, and just this thick black smoke. Again, winds, it just stings because of all this debris flying around. Looking at my anemometer, gust 25 miles an hour right now, but we've seen probably close to 40. It's hard to put this into words. seeing this home up here on fire and all these other structures and even a high school. I'll go ahead and send it back to you.
Yeah, we were hearing earlier that the gym was impacted, and now we're seeing just utter destruction of Pali High School. We're so sorry. We know that obviously thousands of kids go there, and Sam Dubin, our photographer, is an alma mater. So as he described it, he said it was heartbreaking to see it go up in flames. The aquatic center is new. That looks like that is holding strong at this point. But as we know, that could all change in the blink of an eye. Across the street, that massive home fully engulfed in flames. And
we're still on.
The winds, obviously, as he was measuring on his own, Matthew Seedorf, at least 25 miles per hour. Matthew, you look like you're a man on a mission right now. What are you seeing? Where are you going to?
Yeah, just trying to take a look at this home. We know that a lot of people had trouble evacuating, so you're just thinking about that. And obviously just starting the new year and seeing this right now, and all these homes are destroyed. Basically, you can just see the chimneys sticking out there, but just looking around, just surrounded by flames at this point. If you want to flip that way, Sam, looking back towards the high school itself, you can see more flames up the road. And we just showed you the football stadium, and just the wind. It stings, like I was saying. Hard to put this into words, what we're experiencing and seeing out here. And just making the drive back down to where we are. We were just up the mountain, probably 10-minute drive, but there's just spot fires between here and there. So just seeing all these structures and homes and people's lives burning right now is all their belongings and stuff. It's hard to see.
Yeah, looking at the history of the school, it was founded in 1961. It was built for $6 million on a filled-in canyon, and now we're seeing that canyon be engulfed in flames. Almost 3,000 people are enrolled, students at Pali High School, which is now burning live on our air tonight.
And can we tell, are the classrooms themselves burning?
So I'll let Sam answer that question because he's familiar with the school. They're curious if the classrooms themselves are burning. I don't think the classrooms are burning yet. That's kind of in this area right here. It just seemed to be the athletic fields, but it's very close. And if the embers have already spread to the football field, that is probably less than a quarter mile from the ocean. So if I pan this way, the ocean is just maybe half a mile down this way. So there's houses just on that side. It's a mobile home estates park just on the other side, actually, of these flames here. So the fire's definitely heading that way, and I just hope they have the resources to protect those homes just on the side of those trees.
Yeah, I mean, the best case scenario for the school, obviously the best case scenario is no flames at all. But if you're just looking at the athletic fields and the classrooms themselves stay intact, then you can continue going to school there. You don't have to, have everybody go somewhere else. So I'm sure there's going to be an effort as we see the fire trucks there to try to protect those classrooms and keep, some of that school, the heart of that school intact.
Well, as we watch Southern California burn in the Palisades region, can you all hear me good? I'll wait for someone to respond. Check 2. Anybody? Anybody? Hello. Okay, 10-4. Well, we've got to kill this live stream for now. It will come back up around 9 p.m. Mountain Time. That's 8 p.m. California time or Pacific time. And the update tonight will come out at around 8:30 p.m. Mountain. And shortly after that, we'll restart the live stream as things develop. The fire is over 1,500 acres. We will have the full details on the update, 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time, where we will discuss all the crews be involved. We'll show you the map, the size of the fire, where it's moving. Based on the wind patterns, this fire will burn itself out regardless if anyone tries to put it out in a few days. It is making its way towards the ocean. Once it hits the ocean, it has nothing to burn. So it is moving west, southwest, towards the ocean, and it may destroy everything in its path. That's going to be up to 10,000 homes at risk, 30,000 people now evacuated. those numbers will increase, and we'll have all the details in about an hour and a half, an hour and 40 minutes right here on this channel. Thanks you all for watching. Thank you all for bearing with us when the audio got cut. We've been on now for what appears to be about 3.5 hours, and we'll go at as long as that, starting at 9 p.m., probably till midnight. So I apologize for having to end the stream now. You can go watch on 2 Fox channels. 11 News Live has the best coverage. That's where we are now. There are no commercials, so go get it. And if not, we will leave you links tonight at 8:30 to go get all of those live streams. This fire will not be out anytime soon. The winds are picking up this evening, and the peak winds will be from midnight to tomorrow morning, which is the worst time for them to be happening because maybe not all the people that needed to be evacuated are gone yet. So we may see extreme loss of life. We don't know about the elderly. Many elderly have stayed and tried to fight this fire. So it is going to be in the morning. We'll have way more information about the number of buildings destroyed. And this baby is going to blow up to about 5,000 acres by morning, in my opinion. So stay tuned for more live stream coverage and check out the update where we'll have all the details of the Palisades fire coming up in just about an hour and a half. Be safe, and we'll see you all soon right here on the channel.